All right, good evening. I'd like to welcome everybody to the Anacortes City Council meeting of September 9th, 2024. I'd like to call the meeting to order. Mr. Franciak, would you take the roll, please?
Mr. Fantini.
Here.
Mr. Young.
Here.
Mr. Walters. Here. Ms. Cleland McGrath.
Here.
Ms. Moulton.
Here.
Mr. McDougall.
Here.
Ms. Hubick.
Here.
Thank you.
Would you please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Mayor Miller,
Mr. Fantini.
I noticed that you had some library board of trustees appointments tonight, and I know we have a few things coming up early on the agenda. I was wondering if I could make a motion to move that, since we have some guests here, to move those library of trustees appointments to the beginning of the meeting before our executive session.
Second.
Okay, a motion by Mr. Fantini and a second by Mr. Young. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Okay, thank you. Appreciate that, and I know our our potential appointees to the board. So we'll get right to that. Library Board of Trustees appointments. This is an action item, and I would like to present to council the following appointments to the Anacortes Public Library Board of Trustees. As always, I appreciate our volunteers and the willingness to serve the community. So again, appreciate you stepping up, and thanks, Jeff and your team, for setting up those interviews. So I have Johanna Samizu for a 5-year term, effective immediately, and replacing Nancy Fisher-Allison, and Mike Van Quickenborn for a 5-year term that'll be effective on 1 January 2025, replacing John Schaefer on the completion of his term. So with that, council, any questions?
Mayor Miller,
Mr. Fantini.
I move to appoint Jana Shimizu and Mike Van Quickenborn to the Anacortes Public Library Board of Trustees as presented.
Second.
Okay, a motion by Mr. Fantini and a second by Ms. Hubick to appoint the board members as presented. Any additional discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, thank you. Thank you very much, and appreciate your willingness to serve. Yeah, we can clap on that one. Okay, now back to our planned agenda. Item 3 is an executive session. It's a potential real estate transaction per RCW 4230-110. Anticipate this will take 30 minutes, so we will reconvene our regular our meeting at 6:33. 6:33, and if we have to extend it, I'll come back. Thank you. Just like to inform the public that the executive session will be extended for an additional 10 minutes. We anticipate returning back to council chambers at 6:43. Thank you. All right, it is 6:43, and that's when I said council would be back. We are back in our regular session of city council. No action was taken per RCW 44230-110. All right, we are on to item number 4A. Oh, sorry, announcements. We are on 4, announcements and committee reports. Okay, a couple announcements for here. I'd like to thank the Parks Department, Senior Center, Carl and Amanda specifically, last week's Senior Center Volunteer Appreciation. We had some VIP guest ice cream servers that included Chief Bill, Chief Dave, Captain Pruitt, and Mayor Pro Tem Moulton, the VIP ice creams. And also Amanda was there, and so thanks everybody for a great event. Wonderful things they're doing at the Senior Center. Okay, this Saturday, September 14th, Space and International Observe the Moon Night. So in the afternoon at the library, 2 p.m., build and launch rockets, 2 p.m., so color the planets, read a space book, check out NASA kit or a telescope, learn about the phases and features of the moon. Hopefully we'll have a cloudless night for Observe the Moon at 6:30 to 8:30 at Seafarers Park, also put on by the library. So this is Observe the Night Sky with special telescopes, build moon phases out of cookies, and sip some hot chocolate while we learn about moon together. So a couple of great events that the library has on Saturday. Another big day coming up 2 weeks from now, our Saturday, September 21st, as Operations Residential Cleanup Day at the Operations Facility, 37th and D. Again, verification of residency is required. Accepted items include household garbage, furniture, and yard waste. 1 load per customer, and appliances will be accepted for a fee. Anacortes Family Center Shreddathon is Saturday the 21st, also that day, so drop off those and then head to the dump as well. And that's in the Walgreens parking lot, 9 to 1. And finally, just a reminder, pavement management, mid-September, there's a bunch of pavement going on. You've probably seen the signs out there. Kingsway, Fidalgo Ave, Hillcrest Drive, Guimas View, San Juan neighborhoods, K-Way, Kingsway, I mentioned that. So again, check out our website so you can see where those are happening. So lots of pavement going on. Okay, that was all of my announcements. Planning Committee,
Mayor Miller.
Ms. Moulton.
Thank you. The Planning Committee met at 5 p.m. today. It was Councilmember Cleland McGrath and myself, and staff were John Coleman and Libby Grage. And we talked a bit about the Housing Action Plan and the recommendations that City Council talked about moving forward or not recommending to go forward to the Planning Commission, with the understanding that those are recommendations and the Planning Commission is free to add or subtract things as they would like. And the importance of establishing some context. The Planning Committee has been working on the Housing Action Plan and a lot of these questions for several years as a unit. And the Planning Commission has had some members come along much more recently than that. And so just kind of the challenge of establishing a context why some of these things are moving forward and how important that is, and how about that education piece to maybe help make it easier for the Planning Commission going forward to understand why some of these recommendations have been made and why they're there to begin with. So we talked with staff about that, like real world examples of cottages, for example, duplex cottages, where we're seeing them work in town, versus, to see like where they're working and where they could work, kind of thing. So that was a lot of our conversation, and that was pretty much it. Yeah, that was it.
Any questions for the Planning Committee? All right, any other announcements or committee reports?
Mayor Miller?
Mr. Fantini.
I just wanted to announce that on September 26th at 6 p.m., I'll be hosting my third quarter town hall for the general public, whoever wants to come and attend, talk about city items, what's going on the council, provide some general updates, and that again will be on September 26th from 6 to 8 p.m. at the library community room, and it's open to any that want to attend.
Mayor Miller?
Thank you. Ms. Moulton.
Oh, thank you. I just wanted to give a shout out to the Anacortes Music Project for a fantastic AMP Fest on Saturday at Seafarers Park from 12 to 9 with a slew of Skagit County bands, past, present, and future. It was just fantastic to see everyone from little toddlers running around and dancing and playing to people upwards of 70 years old dancing and rocking out. And it just was such a good hometown event that one of the things that makes me really proud to live here and be a part of it. It was really special and a total blast. So thanks to AMP.
All right. Anything else? All right. We will move on to item 5, which is public comment. This is an opportunity for every member of the public wishes to address the council. Anything that's not on our agenda did receive a written public comment. Our council has received written public comment from Linda Martin on the theater. That's at 7A. So if there's anything you want to add, perhaps you can go there. But anything else, I've got Steve Anderson signed up. Topic is signs in front of houses. Did I already? Yeah, okay, the executive session didn't work there. Okay, anybody else wish to address the council, anything that's not on our agenda? Check online real quick. Okay, we'll move on to our consent agenda, items 6A through D. Council.
Mayor Miller,
Mr. Walters.
I would like to pull the approval of claims, item B, and the contract award for the operations site, item D.
Okay, so we'll be looking for a motion on the other agenda items.
Mayor Miller,
Ms. Hubick,
we're making a motion to approve consent agenda items A and C.
Second.
motion by Ms. Hubick, a second by Mr. Young to approve consent agenda items A and C. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Mr. Walters, item 6B first. Oh, yep, B.
Yeah, thank you. The City of Anacortes offers a rebate on energy efficient appliances through our water utility. One of those appliances is dishwashers, and I recently got a new one. So I'm getting a $50 rebate on this payment of claims, and I'll be abstaining. Thank you.
All right, I missed that one. All right, want to take that one up, and then we can move to item D. I'll look for a motion to approve 6B.
Mayor Miller.
Ms. Cleveland McGrath.
I move to approve 6B, the approval of claims, in the amount of $791,763.56.
Second.
A motion by Ms. Cleveland McGrath, a second by Mr. Fantini to approve item 6B. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
One abstention.
An abstention. Okay, thank you. All right, on to item 6D. Mr. Walters.
Item 60 is a contract with Makers to perform a needs and use assessment of the operations facility and to outline ways we can use our space to its full potential in the near term and provide suggestions for how to manage flow and preserve space for future needs. The operations facility is currently shared between the city and the school district, and although I'm aware that there has been some discussion about us taking over the entire facility and terminating the interlocal with the school district, I don't think we've made that decision. So I would prefer that this contract scope look for ways to continue to share the property with the school district. Maybe not the building, maybe adding to the property through additional property acquisition adjacent if we actually need the space and can't share it. Maybe pushing that cost onto the school district, maybe figuring out a method where it doesn't cost us anything because it is our property. But in the alternative where we were to plan for and then ultimately exclude the school district because we don't have a plan to continue sharing it with them, the cost of acquiring a new facility would be pushed off onto our taxpayers, not the city coffers. The city coffers wouldn't be affected, but our taxpayers still would be. I'm also not looking forward to creation of much more blacktop elsewhere. when I think that there's probably a path forward where we can make some adjustments there and share the facility still. So I would like to see us evolve the scope of work to explicitly endorse that possible future and potentially plan toward it. And maybe not within the four corners of the existing site. Maybe some additional property needs to be acquired adjacent to make it work. But I don't want to see us come up with a plan that assumes at the outset that we're not going to be able to continue to share the site when it seems to me that there is at least a possibility that we could.
Mr. Ram, you want to address some of the points?
Sure, Mayor, Council, Andy, Public Works Director. We did intend to actually look at it with the school district space needs that they need. They're also jammed in their space as well. There's industry standards for how much space you need for every different function we have on that site. So we did intend to do that. There is a possibility that is a possibility with the existing property. We just have to have it configured correctly. Is a complete possible outcome of doing this study. It's just the way it's set up now is it's not working out. It's not with the school district, but just even with our own. If you guys want to come up there for a tour, I could show you some of the highlights of things that I've seen that just don't meet industry standards for an operations center.
Mayor Miller.
Mr. Young.
No, I appreciate both sentiments here, I really do. I think that at the end of the day, the city has to take a hard look at where we are, what we have, and how we're using it, and keep open the possibilities of change. And, you know, I think that that's important. And to Mr. Walters' point, I think he's saying don't leave that off, even in the challenge. But I do think that, you know, we have to keep it real. You know, as much as the Operations Center is expanding, everything is the work, everything change has to be made. And I just think that we have to look at it all and be prepared to take action on whatever the best finding is for us as a city and as a community of people and users.
Mayor Miller?
Ms. Moulton.
So as far as surrounding property and opportunities for, of course, this is too much in the weeds to have an actual conversation about this, unless Mr. Ludeman looks like he might have something.
The team is ready to answer all your questions.
Okay. As far as, like, could one possibility truly be acquiring more property and figuring out how to share or divide the space with the school district? Because clearly this has been going on for a very long time, so it would be a huge change which is needed, but anyway.
Sure. So the only known property that's adjacent to our property is I believe it's an open mine behind us, gravel pit. That has an open mine permit, I believe. So I think closing those kinds of things, if it was available for purchase, is another hurdle that would have to be crossed if we're looking for more property. Other than that, we're surrounded by residential properties already. So we kind of constricted to the site that we have right now.
Any other questions?
Mayor Miller,
Mr. Fantini?
I appreciate the desire to want to make sure that we stay involved and have the school district involved as well. I think that's important because I know not that it's our responsibility to handle their budget problems, but I know we're all, you know, struggling with budgets. I just had a question about where it says budget impact. It says earmarked funds 50,000. So this is already in the budget to do.
Yes,
This
is
isn't
the
like new
CFP
funding.
and the operating budget for this year.
Okay, thank you.
Mayor Miller?
Mr. Young?
Yeah, I didn't want to let this opportunity pass me by to say thanks, Mr. Ludeman, for all of the work you do. I know you delve deep into this. I know that sometimes into the conversations coming up, it was a difficult one. And as this conversation has been ongoing for quite a while before even our new our director came in, you've been in the thick of it, and I want to thank you for looking at all of the possibilities. I am convinced that you are, and whatever solutions that come forward, I'm sure they would be the best that we have at the moment. So thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Mr. Ram, did you have something to add?
Just one quick thing. So we do have an interlocal agreement with the school district, so there is no way we would try to sever that relationship without coming to the full council. But again, that's not really in the cards right now. We just need to look at the space we have to determine what we can feasibly operate in that space with.
Mayor Miller?
Mr. Fantini?
With that information about we have the interlocal and we can't sever it without council deciding to sever it, unless there's any further discussion, I feel fine making the motion that City Council authorize the mayor to sign contract 24-170-OPS-001 with Makers Architecture and Urban Design LLP in the amount of $49,935,000 to perform the operation site utilization and master plan.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Fantini and a second by Mr. Young to approve the contract 6D as presented. Additional discussion?
Mayor Miller?
Ms. Cleland McGrath.
So I have toured it, and thank you for having me tour it. It is, I mean, there's a lot of people and a lot of equipment doing everything that we see on the roads. I was really shocked and impressed by the organization and the performance that's happening there and the number of employees that are based out there. I guess my concern is, as Mr. Walters referenced, I want to be sensitive to the fact that the school district has had their buses based out of that space too. And if there is a way that when we do this planning to factor in a desire, if possible, to still co-locate both the bus garage and the public works and city space in the same location, looking at if we need to expand it. I think that it would be a detriment for taxpayers and for the district and the city if we have to peel them apart and try to find more land. Right now, it's a pretty good location. It's centrally located for buses to come and go. It's centrally located for all of our public works department, street department, everyone, all of that equipment to come and go. And so I hope that there's an emphasis on figuring out how to use that space efficiently. And so that is just, I want that sentiment to be factored in, if possible, to this, the planning purposes.
Any other discussion? I do have a motion by Mr. Fantini and a second by Mr. Young.
Mayor Miller?
Mr. Walters?
Especially when we're doing a planning effort like this, I think it's important that we articulate the bases that, for that planning effort and our objectives. And if our objective is to articulate all our needs to the exclusion of the school district, then I think that probably prejudges the outcome, which would be to terminate the interlocal with the school district and tell them, sayonara, you got to find someplace else to operate out of. I don't want to prejudge that outcome. I want to be very clear that we shouldn't prejudge the outcome. We should do the needs assessment that is laid out here and have it all down on paper. We should also simultaneously be engaged in a conversation with the school district where we ask them to do their own needs assessment, and then in phase 2, figure out how those either can be meshed or not. You know, there's property to the south. It is a mineral resource area. Has any part of it been exhausted? Is any part of it available for additional property? I don't know. I don't know if you guys know the answers to those questions, but that would be a thing that we would find out in this planning effort. So still, rather than approve the document as it is now, I would like there to be 1 or 2 sentences that say, at a minimum, we're not prejudging the outcome here. That we're trying to get information, but we're not determining at this point that we are definitely going to exclude the school district, because it's a better outcome for all of us, including the taxpayers of Anacortes School District, if we don't do that.
Mayor Miller,
Mr. Young?
but I hear you, and I'm absolutely agreeing with that. I think I heard Mr. Rayum said that that's part of the discussion going forward. Did you not say that?
So I haven't read that scope in a while, but that was our intention, was to look
Okay,
at every
that's
activity
what I
that's on the
thought.
site
Okay.
now.
Right,
Yeah, they're part of so they're scoped to be interviewed, the school district itself.
okay.
It has its own portion of the study.
All right, so I think we're saying the same thing. You wanting it's inserted in words, is that right, Mr. Walters? And I think Mr. Rayum is saying that's part of what he plans to be in the discussion for going forward. Because I think that, you know, at least in our meetings at the Public Works, that's always been part of the assessment, that would be part of the discussion.
We'd have the consultant review
Okay.
this meeting as
All right.
well to hear the sentiment.
So,
Mayor
Okay.
Miller?
Ms. Moulton?
So I'm just looking at the initiation and engagement plan and the kickoff meeting that's with Public Works leadership team and subject matter experts to clarify project goals. This clearly says it excludes external engagement or communication efforts, for example, with ASD or community members. I think maybe I would be comfortable in seeing when the communication is with ASD. If it's not the kickoff meeting, maybe it's shortly thereafter. I would like to see it called out of that, which I am not. I might be missing it though.
Again, I read the contract a while ago, and I thought it actually did include the ASD, but maybe I misread that, and I don't think that was the intention.
Mayor Miller?
Mr. Walters?
There's one line that says there will be interviews with various parties, parks, maintenance, police, and staff from Skagit County and ASD. So ASD is mentioned in at least one spot, other than the spot Ms. Moulton articulates where there's mention, but only to exclude them. I think that the point here is this same scope of work with just one or two sentences, I think could at least placate me, but would also articulate to the school district that we haven't prejudged the outcome here.
Okay, so I'm sorry, I got to read, make sure I'm not crazy. I'm reading Exhibit A, one needs assessment, 1A, and it's a refine work program, confirm key project participants, and discuss communication strategies with other city and ASD staff. Am I missing something there?
Mayor Miller?
Mr. Walters?
I'm not sure what that means. Communications strategies with other city and ASD staff?
Well, again, are you trying to prejudge the outcome? I mean, you know, we've got ASD at the table. I don't understand the issue with this contract.
Mayor Miller?
Ms. Cleland McGrath?
I guess I'm kind of curious, have we had any discussions with the school district about them doing parallel planning and for what they're going to need for their bus facility, bus barn, or bus facilities?
I know they're working on something. I know very vague details of it, though. They're working, because they do San Juan County as well, their bus services. So they're, as a group, are actually looking to what they need to go forward.
So I was notified by one of the bus mechanics staff that they are looking at options, and they have a state program that will provide, I think, 100% funding for a facility for them if they co-op, which they do co-op already. So I don't know where they're at in that process, how involved they are in it, but that is a thought they've been looking into. But they've been looking at that for years as well. We have not approached them with this project yet, but they are going to be at the table and do interviews along with all of our supervisors as well.
Okay.
Okay, so I still have a motion by Mr. Fantini and a second by Mr. Young to approve the contract. Mr. Francione, could you take the vote, please?
Mr. Young?
yes.
Mr. Walters?
No.
Ms. Cleland McGrath?
No.
Ms. Moulton?
No.
Mr. McDougall?
No.
Ms. Hubick?
No.
Mr. Fantini?
Yes.
Motion fails.
Okay, we will move on to other business, item 7A. This is a feasibility review for a movie theater purchase and sale agreement. It's a discussion item with possible action, and Ms. Swetnam will tee this up for the council.
Thank you, Mayor Mueller, members of council. Give me just a second here. I've got a couple of slides to share. It always takes longer when everybody's watching.
No, nobody's watching.
It's
You're
good.
fine.
So tonight, staff is just teeing up the discussion with council about the results of the feasibility study period that we are still in under the purchase and sale agreement to buy the movie theater building. So again, just kind of a review, the movie theater building is the structure here at the bottom at 415 O Avenue, adjacent to the public parking lot. So to remind council of the terms of the purchase and sale agreement, the city offered and the seller accepted a purchase to buy the building for $500,000 with a 30-day feasibility period that expires on the 12th of September, so Thursday. The sale is contingent on the city's satisfaction with the lease with the subtenant, which is Faraway Entertainment. And the city has, as to the operation of the movie theater, to be completed during that 30-day feasibility period. And then there was a provision saying that closing needed to happen 30 days after approval of the feasibility study. So there were some considerations that were laid out and staff were asked to evaluate with the mayor. First was the inspection of the building and its systems to evaluate potential issues. The city was able to secure an inspection report of the building, as well as had facility staff do an evaluation of the building with several contractors. The results of that were that there were issues that needed to be addressed, including roof repairs, HVAC replacement, some electrical work, some safety work, and the estimated cost to do those repairs at the city's cost under prevailing wages was approximately $280,000. One of the other issues that was tasked during the feasibility study period was a discussion with the current tenant to determine whether the theater business will continue to operate for at least 5 years. And the mayor and staff talked with the operator of the theater, Faraway Entertainment, and were able to negotiate a lease agreement with him that would be for 5 years. He would pay $8,000 a month for the remainder of 2024, and then $9,000 a month beginning January 1, 2025 with a CPI inflator. So those terms were reached in concept. And then we were also asked to look at a financing strategy, and that was evaluated through the finance department. It was determined that it was possible to get a commercial lease for the purchase price. So that information has now been shared with council, and so the options at this point are really the first three. Option one is to authorize the mayor to close the sale with a purchase price to be determined. Option two is to request an extension of that feasibility study period to answer additional questions, since there won't be another opportunity for council to take action before that period of time expires. And then option three is to rescind the purchase and sale agreement and request return of the earnest money, which was $25,000, because of the results of the feasibility study. Somewhere down the road, if council does decide to withdraw the offer, it's also on the table to amend the lease as originally requested by the building owner. But tonight, staff is asking council to take one of the first three actions. And that's all the information that I have. I'm happy to answer questions, but I know that this item is also available for the public.
All right, council, do you want me to take it up, or would you like me to? I know we have one written public comment. Do you want to add to that, or are you good with? Okay, anybody else like to address the council? All right, council, over to you.
Mayor Miller?
Mr. Walters.
I think we're in a better position tonight because we have more information than we did when we started down this path. At $500,000, there's a universe of possibilities wherein we make sufficient money on lease revenue from the cinema operator to pay for this building in a reasonable period of time with no real cost to the taxpayer. However, based on the information that we have now, with $280 plus some $1,000 worth of prevailing wage repairs that need to be done, the universe of possibilities doesn't really exist. We have more information than we used to have. We know the condition of the building, and we also know what the cinema operator would accept in terms of a lease agreement. And I think that that does indicate that the cinema is potentially viable moving forward, and we'll see if it proceeds. It also seems to indicate that the building isn't worth what we have contemplated purchasing it at least certainly not for us. So I would be in favor of option 3, indicating to the seller that the feasibility period has not been satisfied, request return of the earnest money, and walking away from the agreement.
Mayor Miller.
Mr. Fantini?
I'm also in favor of option 3, and I'd like to give a few reasons why. One is what Mr. Walters just stated with exhaustive repairs that need to be completed, but 2 of the big reasons for me are, number 1, this is, I feel like maybe opening a big can of worms. This is what we see when a inspector goes into a building, but what do we see once we start doing some of the work and scratching away behind some of the electrical and things like that? Is it opening a bigger can of worms? My other big reservation was, we are a city. We have city buildings. We do city things. Operating a movie theater, or excuse me, being responsible for a movie theater building. I know we wouldn't be technically operating the movie theater. Just to me seems like a huge risk to take, especially when we're looking at ongoing maintenance of the theater after satisfying the items that needed to replace of roughly $35,000 a year, and that would just be normal maintenance. I also think that whether it's falling under the facilities department or the parks and recs department, these are areas, our city staff is already pretty flexed out with just trying to keep the city buildings that we own now up and running. So I felt like adding another building is probably not in the best interest of our city. So I'm very much in favor of option 3. I'm also still open, though, to amending the lease and allowing the business owner to try to sell their business.
Okay, all right, that's 2 for, I know there hasn't been a motion, but yes, I'm counting. Anybody else like to weigh in on this?
Mayor Miller.
Mr. Young?
The truth is, a theater would be wonderful to have in our small town. It really would, and I am of the opinion, B school in me, is that a willing buyer and a willing seller are 2 people coming together, whether it's viable or not. That's up to them to try to work it out and make it a success or, fail. I think that happens every day in America. So, for me, I've never wanted or believed that a city's purview is to enter into this type of business. You know what I mean? Because if this, then surely we should be able to look at others. I just think that this extends beyond what a government should do unless it's part of government. And so for that, I am, not willing to move forward. I do wish that there was a way that, I've always been an advocate for modifying the lease. But again, in this case, given these options, option 3 is where I'm going to go, simply because I just don't believe that the city needs to operate a theater. And in effect, we would. And regardless of whether we have someone in a management agreement, we would. And so this is just not something I think we need to do, given everything else that we want to do in our beautiful city. So.
I'd just like to say for the record, the movie theater is still open and operating right now. So I don't want to get blamed for that part closing, like the bowling alley. Okay, anybody else? Not, I'll entertain a motion, certainly.
Mayor Miller.
Mr. Walters.
I agree with Mr. Young that the city should not be in this position. It's not desirable for the city to be involved in a private enterprise like this, because especially one where the public really wants to see the movie theater, the cinema operation continue. because we have a higher responsibility, and that is to a fiduciary responsibility to the public tax dollar and the public of the city of Anacortes. Our responsibility is really not to the cinema operator or the intermediary entity that owns the building that the cinema operates in. If we were discussing this today, I would certainly vote against any kind of proposal to get us into this business. But also, I think that the prior city council, the city council from 25 years ago, did not really succeed in their objective. Their objective was assumedly to help out the city of Anacortes by making property available for a movie theater. But really, instead, what they did is they inserted an intermediary to build a building, and then that person charged assumedly a market rate rent for the cinema operator. Well, if people are going to charge market rate rents, we don't really need to be involved. So, and we shouldn't have been involved. So all that being said, to get us back to where we are today, I would move that we direct the mayor to indicate to the seller the feasibility period has not been satisfied. We're terminating the purchase and sale agreement, request return of the earnest money, and move on.
I would second that, and thank you to the mayor and staff for putting the time into this effort and the due diligence. Really appreciate it.
You took the words out of my mouth. That was a lot of great work by staff to get the information that council needed to make to come to the decision. So a motion by Mr. Walters and a second by Mr. McDougall to end the feasibilities to terminate the purchase and sale agreement based on the feasibility. Any additional discussion? Mr. Franciac, vote please.
Mr. Walters.
Yes.
Ms. Cleland-McGrath.
Yes.
Ms. Moulton.
Yes.
Mr. McDougall.
Yes.
Ms. Hubick.
Yes.
Mr. Fantini.
Yes.
Mr. Young.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay, thank you. We're on to item 7B. This is a memorandum of agreement with the Anacortes Rotary Charitable Association. This is a discussion item with possible action. Mr. Lunsford's already queuing it up. Mr. Lunsford, when you're ready.
Mayor Miller, thank you. Council members. So I'm here tonight to bring to you this memorandum of agreement with the Anacortes Rotary Charitable Association. And it is regarding the Capsana Lookout project, something that we've had a chance to discuss before. This MOA is similar to what we've done with our friends who helped us with the skate park improvement project and built in the same template to allow us to work together for funding issues, et cetera, throughout the process. So I'll just kind of skip to that. You can kind of see, again, a vision of what we're going to build, if we can. So it's a collaborative project with the Rotary Club. They've been fantastic partners throughout. Mr. Decker is here tonight if you have questions specifically about the project or the Rotary Club's part in it. It's funded entirely by the Rotary and other community groups in town. See, the cross-border rivalry between the Kiwanians and the Rotary has been healed for this, so that's a great achievement. I'm in jest, they get along just fine. It's supported by city staff, so we'll be operating the contract and working with their engineer that the Rotary Club has. And then the MOA is through the end of December 2025 to get us through this project. So I think it's a great opportunity for this continued collaboration. It's a great community investment by the Rotary Club and one that will benefit the citizens and our visitors for time to come. Any questions?
All right, council.
Mayor Miller?
Mr. Young.
No, again, I just think that it is proper to give thanks to the many people that came together to make this happen. It just doesn't happen on its own. And, I'm always grateful for that because it's part of what makes this city the wonderful city that it is and that the place many of us have chosen to live and others want to come. And in this case, I find that, it's particularly with the ADA abilities that it adds, it really enhances the life of us all. And that's a wonderful thing. So, I want to thank Rotary for really deciding to come forward with this and push. also the team and the staff for finding a way to make it happen such that not only does it not impose an environmental challenge that we don't want to have this thing that creates a bigger problem, but it's absolutely something that adds to the wonder of what we call Anacortes. It really is. And so I'm happy to say yes to moving forward.
All right, any other questions?
Mayor Miller?
Ms. Moulton?
Thank you. I just want to echo Mr. Young's statements, and thanks to Mr. Decker and his team and the Rotarians for working so hard, not only to raise the money, but to communicate with the community and to listen to people's concerns and their needs and their wants, and to incorporate them into the design over time. And I feel like that effort will be well rewarded, and I'm very grateful for that level of communication and coordination. So thank you for that. And if there are no other comments, I move that the City Council authorize the mayor to sign MOA number 24177 PRK 001 with Anacortes Rotary Charitable Association.
Second.
Okay, a motion by Ms. Moulton and a second by Ms. Cleland McGrath to approve the memorandum of agreement as presented. Additional discussion?
Mayor Miller?
Mr. Walters?
I just want to echo Ms. Moulton's comments. No question, Rotary's willingness and eagerness to listen to feedback and incorporate that into the design will and has already paid dividends here. Mr. Linsford, I wondered if you could tell us a little bit more about the project itself and when will be under construction, when will be completed.
I got a little ahead of myself there. Just let me go back. Okay, so we are now in the process where the bids the parcel is out for bid. And so because of the Labor Day holiday, we extended that another week. So we expect to receive those bids, and if things come in good order, then we can turn that around and bring it to you in a couple weeks. If we have questions, it may take a little bit longer, but right now the bid is out for review, and hopefully we'll get some good bids that help us move forward on that. And if things do, then we would hope to start construction this fall.
And complete construction this fall as well?
If the weather works well and supplies come in as we hope they would, we would hope to have it done by early next year.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah, certainly for summer, spring 2025.
Okay.
Yes.
I usually
Thank you.
don't harass you about completion dates until at least after we get a couple bids in, but it's,
I like the optimism.
but it's going to happen.
I like the optimism.
Mayor Miller?
Mr. Fantini?
I'm very excited. I know the Rotary has worked really hard and jumped through many hoops to make this project, and the organization's done a lot for our city, so grateful for everything they've done, and this item especially. Question for you, when they do construction, I'm assuming we're gonna maybe have to close part of Cap Sani, or will that still be open, or?
Well, it all depends on what their needs are for laydown, so that would happen at the Summit parking lot. So the reason we plan for this time of year is because, visitor traffic is greatly reduced. So we would have part of the parking lot open. We have the lower gravel little parking lot that holds about 5 or 6 cars too. I know it's not as satisfying, but we think half of the viewpoint could still be open as a laydown mobilization area for the work, because most of the works have happening off the east side of the parking lot.
Thank you.
Thank you for asking that. We would let the community know that as we go forward. Thank you, Mr. Fantini.
Okay, still got a motion by Ms. Moulton and a second by Ms. Cleland McGrath to approve the memorandum as presented. Mr. Franciac, vote please.
Ms. Cleland McGrath.
Yes.
Ms. Moulton.
Yes.
Mr. McDougall.
Yes.
Ms. Hubick.
Yes.
Mr. Fantini.
Yes.
Mr. Young.
Yes.
Mr. Walters.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay, thanks. Final item on the agenda is 7C. This is Resolution 3165, establish a climate policy advisory team to assist in the development of a new climate element of the comprehensive plan. Discussion item and open for public comment and possible action. Mr. Coleman.
Good evening, Mayor, Council, members of the public. Thank you. I don't have a map with this, so I will not be presenting a PowerPoint for you tonight. This is pretty straightforward item. As part of our climate element, we created, and our comprehensive plan element, we have a public participation plan, and in that public participation plan, it spoke of a climate policy advisory team that is to be established to help steward the development of the city's first climate element in our comprehensive plan, and advise city staff and the consultant team throughout the development of the climate element to ensure the work is informed by stakeholder and community feedback. The Climate Policy Advisory Team is really meant to represent people. The representatives on that are to represent organizations and groups that are going to be affected by climate change and be affected by the impacts of climate change. So we've identified in the charter that's associated with this resolution 3165 what the goals and policies are and who those groups that are likely to be affected are. And this is put together with feedback, with input from the Department of Commerce as they have guidance for the climate elements that each city is going and county are going to be developing. So we've worked really closely with our consultant team and with the mayor and with Mayor Pro Tem Moulton to identify members of the community that would be likely members. And but what this does is this resolution 3165 just establishes the Climate Policy Advisory Team. We did this this format that we're following is very similar to what we did for the 2016 Community Advisory Committee. So we just followed that. We know that a lot of people were involved in that process and are familiar with it, so we just didn't want to reinvent the wheel, so we're doing it the same way. So steps are for us to create, through this resolution, the Climate Policy Advisory Team. It includes the charter that explains how the team will work, and then after it's established, we can start appointing members. We have been identifying people and speaking with people, as mentioned here. The members that the mayor and Mayor Pro Tem Moulton have identified have already been contacted, and they're hoping that we will get them appointed soon. And then following this step, we wanted to get this done today because on the September 16th meeting, we're going to be having a presentation from our consultants about our greenhouse gas emissions report. And so that's really gonna, that's where this whole project's gonna start moving forward very quickly. So we wanna have the Climate Policy Advisory Team in place once we start those public proceedings. So that's what I have to present. If there are any questions.
All right, thank you. And again, we're looking for lots of public participation, so we can start right now. If any member of the public wants to address this this item, now would be time before I turn it over to council. But I will say, it's, you know, once again, I appreciate the willingness of our community to volunteer to be on these various commissions, boards, panels. We're always asking you to come and help us, and you always step up. So for those of you, thanks in advance that might be on this. So, all right. Not seeing any hands. Council.
Mayor Miller.
Mr. Fantini.
So I just had a question in regard to the charter. To the mayor's point, we really want a lot of public participation. I know we're selecting members. My questions would be, one, are these meetings that on page 2 it says city staff and the consultant team will meet with the CPAT 3 to 4 times over the course of the project, starting in late summer 2024, even though we're in fall now. Are those meetings open to the public?
So the way we anticipate it is they'll be, yes, open for viewing.
Okay.
They're largely going to be, because it's tough to get all these people together in a room these days, it's going to be at least hybrid meeting, possibly entirely virtual meetings. But we do want to have them open to the public so people can see the proceedings. But not, it's not going to be with like public hearings or anything like that.
Okay, and then my other thing is, this is the, when you gave your presentation, you had said that this is the big new part of the comprehensive plan that hasn't been in there before. So I will meet the CPAT 3 to 4 times, so we're for sure going to meet at least 3 times?
Yes, oh yeah, yeah. Yeah, we're anticipating 4.
Right. So could we just say at least 4 times?
It really depends on timing, because we need to actually get moving forward. Our consultants are eager to get going, and they want to have 4, but I think we've budgeted to have 4, and that's the intent.
Thank you.
Mayor Miller?
Mr. Walters.
Kind of reading between the lines here, is it true to say what we're asking the Climate Policy Advisory Team to do is to react to the consultant's work?
Not entirely.
Not entirely.
I think their feedback's important, and I think reaction is, a large part of it. But it's not. They're not going to. I don't understand it to be that they're not going to be able to suggest policies or anything like that.
Sure.
The consultant will do most of the work, and they'll have the opportunity to react and participate. And suggest.
We don't have a lot of greenhouse gas or climate experts laying around Anacortes, so that it's not as if that they are going to probably be able to contribute hard science to this effort, but they'll be able to react, assumedly, to policy proposals and those kinds of things. So that's why I ask that and suggest that. Are we also expecting them to provide, it says provide recommendations to city staff and the consultant team on the key focus areas. Do we expect them to provide those recommendations by consensus or majority vote, or, in my preference, just any one of them individually to propose recommendations or ideas that staff could either discard or incorporate?
I think it would probably have to be sort of an organic, like as nods around the room, or people, like if one person, it'll have to be a little organic. I imagine it works with like any other committee. Not everybody's going to see eye to eye.
So are you saying that not everybody has to agree? We're trying to get substantive input, not necessarily creating a whole nother commission of some kind?
Right, yeah.
Okay, all right, good. Thank you.
Mayor Miller.
Mr. McDougall.
Yeah, I think kind of along the same lines that Mr. Walters was asking, there's nothing in here that basically that says that the CPAT committee members are for some reason not allowed to like either author or co-author recommendations or policies. Essentially, like they could certainly participate in authoring and co-authoring of pieces of whatever plan emerges from this.
Of course.
Great.
Just like anybody can submit comments at any time to comp plan, to our comp plan email, and make suggestions as well.
Great. Thank you.
Mayor Miller?
Mr. Young.
I think this is just a great effort. I really do. And I think that between the mayor and Mayor Pro Tem, as well as, the staff and the team, the people that are going to be brought forward will be the best that we have to bring forward or can at this moment. So, within that, it will, be the genesis of thought, but also the basis of moving forward and going where we're going to go. So, I'm okay with that. And unless there's any other thought, if someone want to make some more comment, I make a motion to approve Resolution 3165, establishing a climate policy advisory team to assist in the development of the climate element of the city's comprehensive plan.
Motion by Mr. Young and a second by Ms. Hubick.
Mayor Miller?
Let me just finish this. Motion by Mr. Young, a second by Ms. Hubick to approve Resolution 3165. Mr. Fantini, additional discussion.
Just 2 things quickly. I just wanted to reiterate my desire for public to be as involved as possible. And so when these meetings are planned, that they be posted somewhere, if they're meetings that people can watch, if they're meetings that are in person where people can come sit and watch or watch online. I would just reiterate that I would really like to see that. And the second thing is in regard to the question about can any one member of the CPAT group author an item or whatever. My hope would be is that this group can work together as a group, because I know for me personally, a recommendation would hold a lot more water that comes from a group that we've put together rather than just one individual on the group. That's all.
Okay, a motion by Mr. Young, a second by Ms. Hubick to approve Resolution 3165. Additional discussion?
Mayor Miller.
Okay, Mr. Walters and then Ms. Moulton.
In the 2016 update, we had the Community Advisory Committee, and those members were appointed by the mayor but confirmed by council. Here we don't have it. We don't say anywhere that they're to be confirmed by council. What is our intent?
You know, I found no record of council confirming the 2016 CAC, but I'll take your word on that. I looked
It's in the
pretty hard
minutes.
for that.
I don't remember when I was on council confirming them, but yeah, I believe you. Ms. Moulton?
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Coleman. I'm really looking forward to being part of this committee and bringing ideas forward and encouraging that. Also, I am going to advocate for one meeting in person. I know it's tricky to get people together, but I think it really makes a difference to be in the same room together. Maybe I'll make cookies or something. Snacks never hurt. And so I think that we have assembled a really good group of people with diverse experience in different fields that will have all been involved in the community already in different facets. And I think it's going to be a great group that's going to have some lively discussions and bring some really good ideas and contributions forward.
Okay, still a motion by Mr. Young and a second by Ms. Hubick to approve Resolution 3165. Mr. Franciac, vote please.
Ms. Moulton.
Yes.
Mr. McDougall.
Yes.
Ms. Hubick. Mr. Fantini.
Yes.
Mr. Young.
Yes.
Mr. Walters.
Yes.
Ms. Cleveland McGrath.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay, thank you for the work, and no further business before the council. I'll adjourn tonight's meeting. Have a good night.